when you actually have.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be invited to speak with you today, presenting to you at the University of Miami's 2021 Coastal Resilience Symposium, hosted by UM's Rosenthal School of Marine and Atmospheric Science, which recognizes the critical need for a multidisciplinary approach to resilience. After decades of working to raise awareness on these issues, I firmly believe that the private sector has a crucial role to play in bringing forth the right solutions needed to protect our business, people, and planet. Today, I present one such tool for your toolkit, which is innovative, collaborative, and empowering. These are digital impact bonds, an innovative financing mechanism to democratize prioritization and funding of critical climate resilient projects for and by hyperlocal communities, with the intention to meet the Paris Climate Accord and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. And by the way, the financing gap that's needed to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals is estimated to be between $2.5 to $3 trillion per year. That's trillion with a T. To put this astronomical figure into perspective, $1 trillion with $100 bills stacked up would go 631 miles past the stratosphere of Earth and even past the International Space Station. We need 3 of those. So how do we accomplish this? There's not one silver bullet, I would say, but I think that there's definitely the need to understand that natural capital, meaning the environment's contribution and effect and integration that exists into our local global economy, is much greater than our local economy. Over $100 trillion is just natural capital, which is not accounted for at all. And so I really do believe that in order for us to solve these issues, we need to understand and we need to work on large financial vehicles and innovation to make this possible. To accomplish these goals, we have limited government budgets, institutional capacity to formulate a pipeline of truly bankable deals to meet the Sustainable Development Goals investment projects, and a weak financial system that needs to be updated. But what if we had a way to democratize and crowdfund both the ideas and the capital to bring climate resilient projects to the local communities most affected by climate change, to be engaged, committed, and aligned to buy in and benefit from? It's exactly what I'm proposing today, that our local community can benefit from the social, environmental, and financial upside of identifying, implementing, and maintaining climate resilient projects. There are billions of dollars that are out there in resilient infrastructure projects that are not funded due to excessive bureaucracy, lack of public funding, and our goal is to expedite that process, prioritizing the most important projects and funding them in a way that's inclusive. To ease the strain of the public sector, likely they'll be working on public-private partnerships to make this possible. And half of those public-private partnerships are expected to be funded by the private sector to make it possible. Now, let's get into some detail of maybe who I am today and why I'm here. Silvio Pupo, Miami born and raised, which means that I have firsthand knowledge to the interests and the need and the effect and the vulnerability of being at ground zero in a climate resilient and climate vulnerable community. And that's why I'm here speaking to you today and why I care so much about this. But hey, what do I know? The truth is not much, but I do have some insights that I think can benefit you that I would like to share from my experience growing up in Miami in the Caribbean and working on technology and innovation in finance for impact investment. For context, I'm the founder and CEO of Logos Capital. We're going on our 10th year of business, a globally focused Miami headquartered impact-focused merchant bank focused on innovative technologies and financing structures to tackle society's toughest problems inclusively. Now, in the nonprofit world, I'm probably way too active as a venture philanthropist. I'm a member of the investment committee on social venture partners. In education, I'm on the board of the University of Miami's Masters of Sustainable Business program. I'm also an instructor in martial arts, been teaching blockchain and technology the last 3 years as a lead for the Government Blockchain Association in Florida, Latin America, and the Caribbean. And I think more relevantly in government, I'm on the ambassador to the city of Miami as a board member to the City of Miami Mayor's Council for Global Competitiveness, where one of my responsibilities is forming sister city partnerships with the rest of the world with us, Gateway of the Americas. Now, digital impact bonds started with this idea of like understanding some of the opportunities that municipal bonds offer, like being able to receive tax-free income for any investment that you make into municipal bonds, something that is really reserved only for institutionals and the ultra high net worth individuals. This market has boomed from 1812, where it started in New York to just build a canal, to now being over a multi-trillion-dollar market today. DIBs, I think, are really what's going to help streamline finding these solutions, sizable investment opportunities in large and small types of projects. Now, projects that could be locally funded, for example, most vulnerable in climate communities are these ESG, environmental, sustainable, and governance linked investment opportunities. Now, with these EIBs, you got to think about environmental impact bonds, much like one would think about green bonds, or one might think about blue bonds. They're just fixed income instruments, right? Where you're just giving a loan, the community is giving a loan out and money up front that's earmarked to specifically raise money for climate and environmental resilience projects. These bonds are usually asset linked and backed by the issuing entity or sponsor, using that entity's balance sheet. Usually those entities are municipalities like Miami, City of Miami issuing the Miami Forever bond, central governments, like could be the government of the Bahamas, for example, or the government of Kenya, which has recently issued a green bond. Universities even, right? University of Miami could probably lead their own, and foundations that could also be the sponsors to these. And they usually carry the same credit rating as the issuer's other debt obligations. The Miami Forever bond, just to take a couple of quick learning lessons, was issued to be able to help preserve Miami. And they had a couple of roles and responsibilities that are worth noting and worth comparing with a traditional green bond. In fact, I was wondering why the Miami Forever bond wasn't just a green bond. They monitor, report, and audit the use of funds, and even have their own bond oversight board. But what they don't do is that, and one of the lessons learned is that they don't do what you can see in the green bonds is one of the 4 key criterias. And number 2 is setting the process for project evaluation and selection. And one of the lessons that we can learn from that Miami Forever bond is like, we don't have a process for selecting and evaluating the projects that we want, which we should do, especially if we're paying for it. Now, another thing to consider is that these credit ratings and the simple guarantees that are possible by shifting some of the risk between the parties that are involved, they're possible in different ways and that are innovative. Social impact bonds can show a couple of examples of how the risk shifting can be done. And you can have municipalities and schools and governments and whomever take on some of these initiatives and projects without actually even having to go out of pocket for it to get done and only pay for success, make it a performance-based outcome. And this is called the results-based financing instruments, right? These performance-based for success models are able to shift the risk and capture the value of realized savings for attainment of the desired goals captured for the realized savings of the outcomes. So with the savings of the implementation, you can pay it back, right? That's the goal. Bond investors, ideally local residents, that's right, proposing that the bond investors be local residents, are the ones that are most able to draw the attention to where the real investment is needed. These local investors can become the creditors to the issuing entity, call it City of Miami or call it University of Miami. And then they could be paid a fixed interest, right? They'd be paid a coupon on that fixed schedule, let's say every quarter, until their money's paid back and their principal's paid back until you get to the maturity of the bonds. And these green bonds can finance projects and activities within different types of environmental benefits, like recycling, for example, or seawalls, for example, climate resilience and resource efficient global economy, the blue bonds follow that similar ability. The difference between these bonds and other classic bonds is the promise to use funds for specific green purposes. Now, I'd like to take it a step further, not just with that, but also understanding that there are different projects that we can have in Miami for coastal preservation, energy, marine energy sourcing, waste and water flood management. And we can do it in a way that's actually cheaper to do with digital impact bonds than would be possible with traditional bonds, because blockchain has a cost savings. And we can save almost half, as is shown in this example here, by issuing these bonds on a blockchain decentralized ledger system. The rise of decentralized ledger technology has provided what are called self-executing codes. And this is not all sort of pie in the sky. Berkeley, with our friends in Berkeley, like Councilman Ben Bartlett, is already looking at issuing money so they can buy their own Firetrucks, $25,000 to $1,000 denominations. So anybody that wants to be involved can be involved, and having a Berkeley token so that you can raise that money that gets paid back can be circulated amongst the local economy. Talk about a hyper local economy. And we can look at bigger examples like the $12 million bond issuance that was done by Denver in 2014, issuing minimum ticket sizes to be able to buy into that at $500. Now, what I want to draw your attention to is that these bonds were restricted solely to Colorado residents. Local first economy, local first investing, I think is really key, because you don't have an extractive economy. You're able to give the incentive and the first right and the first buy-in to truly align interests all the way when you're able to first restrict bonds to local residents, or at least give them the first right of refusal to invest. These bonds, by the way, raised $12 million and were sold out in the first hour. The first hour that they were issued, they raised $12 million. Talk about being very efficient. And there are other cities that have done the same. Here we can see something that I think is quite key to understand, and it's the difference between the decentralized autonomous organization versus a traditional organization that is top-down. Notice that the DAO is completely decentralized, so there's not one person in charge. And you combine this with DeFi. The rise of decentralized ledger technology is an example of these blockchain bonds, but now we mix it together with DeFi and the rise of decentralized finance, right? And decentralized finance together with these things, we're combining to see how we can tackle the issues and opportunities here in Miami with seawalls, coral reef propagation, mangrove protection, affordable housing, and the list goes on, right? Including some of the issues that town of Miami Lakes is looking to face and North Bay Village is looking to face. To do this, we've gathered together in partnership with multiple stakeholders like NASA and even University of Miami to put together Green Economy Club and Blue Economy Club to take over these things. And we've been partnered even with the Miami DAO. That's right, a decentralized autonomous organization with the Miami DAO. But what is a decentralized autonomous organization? Unlike top-down organizations, everybody has an equal say in what happens. And that, I think, is very key for how this works. We can crowdsource the best ideas, crowd select the best ideas, and crowd fund the best ideas. And Logos Capital is issuing these digital impact bonds so we can self-service and select and self-fund. I hope that you can see this opportunity. And I hope that you can work to capitalize on and see how anybody can be involved to really have a true impact in their local community, just like these middle school students from town of Miami Lakes have been able to do, which were affected by the flooding in their community, which were affected by this flooding that closed down their school, that brought them together to propose a plan for flood prevention in their school. And now we're working together to try to issue impact bonds together in a way that can help them protect their community and protect themselves even in their schools where they couldn't go because there's electrical wires. And maybe this is why they call it Miami Lakes. Anyhow, these students are just one example of the kind of empowerment that's possible. If middle school students can do it, what's holding you back? Anybody can take action in the world for the common good, and you shouldn't be limited. Making an impact in a community shouldn't be limited by age or access to resources, especially if it's for the benefit of all. Remember, we're all in this together. If you need support, we have the Green Economy Club, Blue Economy Club, and my contact information. And we're here to make the world a little bit better and a little more resilient. Thank you for your time. This is Silvio Pupo with Logos Capital, coming to you from Miami, Florida. Stay safe.